guys, it's Lily May.
And LindaRose.
I am so excited to be able to share this episode with you guys. We have a lot of really cool and fun stuff planned.
Yeah, this interview is the interview and this is a lot of fun too, but we also have a lot of fun things to talk about. And also, just before we get into everything, next week is our fundraiser, so make sure to tune in on all the fun people. We have a lot of fun people coming on to do that, so make sure you guys tune in and come watch.
Yeah, and make sure you guys follow the Orchid Times Facebook group for that, because all of the performances will be streamed into there. Our group is Orchid Times Show on Facebook, so make sure you guys tune into that. We will be posting the final lineup soon, so stay tuned on there too for that. And we're going to be airing an interview we did with an amazing singer-songwriter, Priyana, today. I was so honored to get to talk with her, and she was an amazing guest to have on.
Yeah, her music is really good too, so if you want to listen to it, you can go on Spotify and search her up. It's really good, and her music's very relatable as well. And so yeah, if you want to go and listen to her, make sure you do, because we want to support her, because she is truly awesome.
Absolutely. We have her links and everything linked below in the description. So if you want to go stream her music and listen to it, make sure to click on that. And stay tuned after Priyana's interview for our news segment and our impactful event in women's history too. Hey Priyana, thank you so much for coming on today to talk with us and do an interview.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
For our question, I wanted to ask you if you could introduce yourself and talk to us a bit about your journey with music.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Priyana. I'm an 18-year-old singer-songwriter. I started playing piano when I was 3 years old, and from there I kind of just kept going with it. I started singing when I was 8 and writing when I was 12, and I guess it's when I started writing when I really knew that it was definitely something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And yeah, I just released my album over the summer, and I'm excited to continue releasing music throughout the year.
Absolutely. I know I was listening to your music some earlier today, and you have such an amazing voice, and you are such a talented singer-songwriter too. I was wondering, what inspired you to play and write music?
To play, I think since I started at such a young age, I don't know if anything specifically inspired me. I guess I kind of inspired myself. When I first started playing piano as a little kid, my parents could never get me off of the piano bench. I was always there. It was always my safe space. So for playing, I think it was just naturally what I went to whenever I wanted to do something, I would naturally go to music. And as for writing, I think it was the people around me that knew I wanted to do it as a career, but I wasn't really doing much to get that going for myself. So they all recommended that I started writing, so I tried it out. And yeah, when I first started writing, a lot of mental health stories were around me, so that is what inspired me at first to start writing, and now I've expanded to other topics as well.
Wow, it was so interesting to learn some about your process and how you started. I know it's so cool to hear about other musicians who started playing at a young age too. I started playing piano at 6 and singing at 11, so it was so cool to hear about that. And I only started writing music just a few years ago, so I always love getting to talk with fellow songwriters too, so thank you so much.
For me, there wasn't really a certain inspiration either. It was just something I got into. And I know that my family and other artists inspire me to do certain things. I wanted to know if there was a specific artist or style that influences you or inspires you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can see in the background of my room, I have Billie Eilish on my wall. So Billie Eilish and Harry Styles, Phineas, Conan Gray, all these people have really inspired me. I spend a lot of time listening to their stuff and watching their interviews, and they inspire the music that I make, but they also inspire me as a human being, just how I act. And yeah, so I take a lot of influence from my favorite artists. I also got into Lizzie McAlpine and Phoebe Bridgers in the past year or two, so they're really big influences for me as well. So yeah, I listen to a bunch of different artists, and they definitely do inspire my writing and just in my life as well.
Those artists are so amazing. I know that Billie Eilish has inspired me also on so many levels. She was actually the person who got me started into singing. I was so hooked on her song When the Party's Over, so I had to try it. So it was so cool to hear about who inspires you and your music. I know earlier you were talking some about your debut album, Little Thoughts, and I was wondering if you could talk to us some about what that album means to you.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first body of work that I released, so it definitely means a lot to me. It was kind of just me experimenting with what sound I wanted to be producing and just kind of pouring my heart as much as I can. It was really exciting. I released it on my 18th birthday over the summer, so that was really exciting. It means a lot to me because it was my first thing that I released, and it's just I spent a lot of time and love, and I put a lot of time and love into that project. So yeah, it really means a lot to me.
You are so talented, and it's such an amazing album. And for everybody watching now, make sure you guys go and stream your music. We have links in the description for anybody who wants to listen.
Earlier, we were talking about your inspirations, and you brought up a lot of great artists, one including Conan Gray, who I'm a huge fan of. And I know that when I write my poetry or writing my music, it's a huge thing with getting an inspiration from someplace. I want to know how you get or where you get your inspiration from when you're writing your music.
Yeah, since I was 12 when I started writing, this is kind of weird. I don't know how many people do this, but I don't really write too much about my own experiences. I write a lot about my friends and what I hear on social media and stuff like that. I think that's where I mainly get my inspiration from. It's kind of just I sit down and I start writing something and whatever comes out of my mouth, and then later I go back and reflect on it, and I'm like, oh, that kind of relates to the story that my friend told me the other day, or something like that. Another thing is when I'm stuck, I use a random word generator a lot just to get my mind flowing again. And if I see a word that provokes thoughts, then I'll start writing based on that.
That is such an interesting way to get inspiration. Word generators sounds so cool. I'm gonna start using that too. I know when I first started writing music, and still do, I rarely write about my own experiences, so it's so cool to meet a fellow musician who does that too. Switching gears a little bit for this interview, I was looking at your TikTok and stuff, and I saw that you play a lot of live shows, and I was wondering if you could talk to us some about your experiences playing live music.
Yeah, I mean, performing is my favorite part of being able to do music. It's so I don't know, it's just so exciting to be able to share your own music with people actually in front of you. I know over COVID it's been a lot of staring at a screen and singing, so being able to perform live is always so exciting. You get to connect with real people, and I just feel like the most myself when I'm on stage. So performing live is definitely a huge part of music for me.
I love that response. There was so much great advice and insight in there too.
Yeah, and leading into our next question, during the end of summer, I went to Atlanta, Georgia, and I performed one of my poems for the first time, ever on a stage in a coffee shop in front of people. And I know it was one of the most nerve-wracking things because I performed on lives before on our Orchid Times page, and that was nerve-wracking at first, but I got eased into it. But performing on stage is very different because you're interacting with the audience as well. And I want to know if you have any tips for when someone does go perform poems and their music and maybe something else that they do. I want to know if you have any tips for performing live on stage.
I think my tips for just nerves and stuff is I was actually talking today about a performance because I'm going to be at a performance next week, so we were talking about it, and he told me that when you're nervous and when you're excited, it feels really similar. So it's when you're nervous, maybe your hands are sweating and you start shaking and your heart beats really fast, and it's just what you set that emotion to be, because when you're excited, your hands start to sweat and you start shaking and your heart starts beating. So if you feel that, even if you have to trick yourself, if you just feel oh, that's actually me excited because I really want to be doing this. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't really excited to do it. So that's just my body reacting to the adrenaline of getting up in front of these people and sharing my music with them. And it's such an incredible opportunity to be able to do that. So I think just setting the intention that you want to be doing this, then you can like really just ground yourself and be able to get up there and feed into the nervousness, because it's not a bad thing.
I love that so much, and that response totally resonates with me. I know I started performing music for the first time at 8, and I know maybe a lot of our viewers right now who are younger wanting to get into music or are just starting to perform live will totally appreciate that advice. It was so great, and thank you so much for sharing it with us. I know that I found your music on TikTok, and I was scrolling, and you have such a great page, and I was wanting to ask you, what has your experience been like promoting yourself on social media?
The thing with me with social media is I love posting covers and just short little videos of me singing, and that is definitely what has brought the attention on me from social media, is like some covers going viral and stuff. But promoting my own stuff is something I really struggle with, and I think it's something that a lot of artists struggle with, because I feel like it's something that people think you have to do, which is completely valid, because how are you going to reach people if you don't promote yourself? But when you put that like mindset of like, oh, it's like a chore, like I have to promote myself, then it becomes this thing that like you don't put the right energy into and all this. So it's definitely something I'm working on right now, and promoting my own stuff and not just doing covers. It's also really discouraging when you post an original video and it gets like 100 views, when normally you post a video and gets like 1,000 views. So but I always think like this is what I want to be doing. Like I'm not doing this because it's a chore. It's actually like I want to reach people with my own music and not just my voice, like my writing as well. So that's kind of, I'm just trying to get into promoting myself a bit more now, and I'm slowly getting there. So
There was so much great advice and tips in there. I know I'm going to start promoting myself as a musician soon on TikTok, because I'm going to be releasing an EP soon. So I'm always looking for more advice and tips. So thank you so much for sharing that. It means so much.
yeah.
Keeping on the topic of social media is something that I've struggled with, because I've had it for so long, because I grew up with it, and but it's something I'm still not like super good with, because of the amount of like different reactions you get from posting different things and the different reactions that people give you. And I want to know some of like things you've learned from different experiences that you've had on different social medias.
Something that I have learned is that people on YouTube are crazy. They will say the most gut-wrenching things to you, and you just need to know that they don't know you. And one comment, I know it's really easy, it's easier said than done, but like one negative comment versus 100 positive comments, like obviously the negative one is going to stand out to you because it hurts more. But just remember that there's 100 positive ones that are like supporting you. And I think TikTok and Instagram are a little bit less hateful, but there's definitely things that people will say that they'll try to knock you down, and you just have to remember that they don't know what you're doing. Like they don't know you at all, and you're doing this because you want to be doing it, and it's what you love, and they shouldn't be able to stop you from doing that. And yeah, another thing that I've learned from social media is consistency is key. Just post as much as you possibly can, and that really show up. It might take a while. It took me about 2 years to get a viral video, but yeah, if you just keep going at it, you'll see results at some point.
So true. I know I started my YouTube channel at 11, and it's been such a journey since then. And definitely one of the most important things I've learned is you can't let people's negative energies get to you, because as you said, they don't know you. So I really love that response, and it was such a good one. I know I was following your channel and I was listening to your cover of Anti-Hero, and oh my goodness, it's so amazing. And I'm a huge Swiftie, so I so loved it. And I was looking and I saw that Taylor Swift herself commented on that video. I was wondering if you could talk to us some about what it was like having your comments on it.
That was crazy. There was a lot of screaming going on in my house that day. Yeah, it was on Halloween, and I was like, oh, I was so sad because I didn't have any plans on Halloween. I was like, none of my friends are in town, and it was just. And then I went on TikTok. I was like scrolling, and then I saw someone like reply to her comment saying like, "Oh, what are you doing here, Taylor?" or something, and I was like, are you being serious right now? And I went and checked, and I was like, saw the little verified sign, like went in, made sure it was actually her, and I was like freaking out. Like I was with my sister, and I like screamed at her because she's like such a huge Taylor Swift fan as well. And yeah, I immediately recorded myself just like falling off my bed, like screaming because oh my God, I've looked to her for so long, and that was, I don't know, it's just crazy that like she knows that I exist. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely, Taylor Swift is such an amazing inspiration, and I'm so glad that she saw your cover because it was so amazing. I know I'm super excited because I have tickets to go see her concert next month, so I'm just like, I'm so crazy excited.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Taylor Swift is also somebody that I've looked up to a lot, especially since, I mean, this song was great too. Like, for some reason, the music video for her Shake It Off song really kicked off my huge, like, love for her for some reason. I don't know why that was the first song I was on. There's a lot of memories with that song. But I know that a lot of artists have talked about it being young artists is really hard because of some of the backlash about some people with being a young artist and some people in the music industry. It can be really harsh. And I wanted to know, have you come across any challenges being a young musician? And if you have, how you kind of overcame that and dealt with them?
Yeah, I think my two biggest issues was finding a producer to work with, because I tried to produce my own stuff, and I did produce a couple of songs on my album before I found the producer that I'm working with now. And it's possible. You can definitely learn to do it, but it just was not for me. It was such an isolating process to do the whole thing by myself. It's so much more exciting and fun when you have another person to do it with. So yeah, it took me a while to find my producer. I actually, I'm in a songwriting program right now at a college in Toronto, and I reached out to the head of this program right before I applied to it. They have another production program in the same school, so I reached out to him and I asked him if he had any like alumni from the production program that he would recommend, and I met with some of them, and I met my producer that I work with right now, Matt Riches, and it's just, he was perfect. It worked out really well. We communicated very well, and he kind of just did exactly what I wanted, like on the first try, and I was like, wow, okay, that was easier than I thought it would be. So yeah, finding a producer is definitely difficult as a young artist, especially when you don't have like all these connections in the industry, but maybe just like find someone that you know might know someone, and like just try to connect, or like through social media, if you know another small artist that works with a producer, you can find out who that is and you can go through them. Another thing is just like writer's block. Like I've had a lot of phases like where I just haven't written anything for months and months, doing this program has definitely helped that, where it's kind of forced me to write, and then since I'm writing for my classes, then I'm like more inspired to write outside my classes as well. So just finding something that'll motivate you to keep doing it, even if you have to force yourself for like a couple days, and then it'll start like coming back to you naturally. Yeah, so those are my two things that I've had to overcome.
Absolutely. Writer's block can be such a hard thing to overcome, but it was super cool to hear how you kind of work past that. And I know I am so nervous for trying to find like a producer or something when I start working on producing my EP. So thank you so much for all those amazing tips too. I know during this interview you have given so much advice, but I was wondering if you have any specific tips or something for someone wanting to start writing or playing music.
Yeah, just start. Like, a lot of people are afraid to just start doing it. But the worst thing that could happen is you don't write your favorite song on the first try. Like, you can always write another song. You can always change the chord progression. You can always like go back and edit it. Yeah, and just do it as much as you can. Don't overdo it though. Don't do it when you don't want to do it. Like, don't force yourself to do something you don't want to do. I know a lot of people are like you have to get the 10,000 hours of practice. Like, I don't know if I fully believe that. Like, just do it when you're inspired to, because if you force yourself too much, then you're going to start to hate it, and then you're going to not want to do it anymore. So make sure you do it as much as you can, but don't overdo it. You also have to live your life. You have to be able to live your life to be able to write songs about your life. So make sure you keep it balanced.
Yes, so true. Balance is so important.
Yeah, and I think that with my whole so far what I've lived in my life, I know that balance is something that I've struggled with and is something that I'm getting better at. And also with my journey through poetry and kind of leaning, I started with songwriting and I leaned into poetry, and it's something that I enjoy. And I do occasionally write songs still, but poetry is the main thing I do enjoy, and I know not overdoing it when I first was getting into it was something I had to work on and something I struggled with. And now I learned how to balance it. And I want to know, with your journey with music, what's something you say you have learned or are still learning?
I think music has really helped me connect with just how I feel. Like I said, that I don't write too much about my own personal experiences, but sometimes I'll just let myself write whatever words come out of my mouth, and then later I'll reflect on it and be like, oh, I think I was actually feeling that way. That didn't just come out of nothing. So just being able to like connect with myself. I know music is known to like connect people with other people, but it's also really helpful to be able to connect within yourself and just reflect on yourself and your emotions and get through some hard times. So yeah.
100%. Thank you so much for coming on here and talking with us. I've loved getting the chance to talk with you some and get to know some about you. For our last question tonight, I was wondering if you could tell people how they can support you in your music.
Yeah. You can follow me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, at Priyana.music, and YouTube is Priyana. All my streaming platforms is all just Priyana, the lowercase p. Yeah, I pre-save my song, and streaming and following and sharing is free ways to support small artists. So that's what really helps us. So.
Thank you so much again. And for everybody watching, make sure you go pre-save Priyana's some video games. I've heard clips of it and it's so good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and agreeing. I've had a lot of fun, and your advice and your insight on a lot of different things is really, really helpful to me, and I'm sure other people watching.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Priyana was so amazing, and her interview was so great. I was so honored to talk with her.
Yeah, the interview was a lot of fun, and she had a lot of insightful answers, and I really enjoyed getting to talk with her and kind of just have fun, just carrying on the conversation with her as well.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and start our news segment for today. For our first topic tonight, we wanted to talk some about Spain's new law. During a rally for the Spanish Socialist Workers' Party on Saturday, the Spanish Prime Minister announced a new law for Spain that will establish a gender quota system all across its public and private spheres. ensuring women make up 40% of any governing body or enterprise. It's so good to see that other countries are putting effort into making sure that women have equal representation and a voice in national decision making. This is going to help so many women in Spain, and it's really wonderful to see this step forward being made, and let's all hope that other countries start taking note too.
Yeah, I think that obviously a really long time ago when women got the right to vote and stuff like that, just women being able to have more of a say and kind of, because it's not just men that live where women live, like women live there too, and it's kind of, we're in the world together, and women should be able to have a say in kind of what goes on and kind of what their world's going to look like for them. And I think that countries and states and stuff taking the step forward to make sure that women can have extra say is really, really important. So I'm glad that more countries are taking steps forward to make sure that women are also equally represented as men, and I'm really happy that they did that.
Absolutely. It's so important that women make up an equal part of any governing body, because if you're only getting the insight from half the population, you're only meeting the needs of half the population too. So it's really great that Spain decided to do that, and I'm so glad, and I hope other countries continue to do the same thing.
As well as me, I'm really happy that they did that. I'm really happy that a lot of other countries are doing things like this, and I hope that more countries see the impact that this has and they start doing things like this as well.
Absolutely. For our next topic, women in Turkey braved an official ban on an International Women's Day march. They marched for 2 hours before the police used tear gas and detained multiple people. These women are so brave to stand up and use their voice, even in the face of an official ban on the march. They have survived so much in their journey for equal rights and are so strong and inspiring, and it's really sad to hear that this event even got banned in the first place.
Yeah, I think a big thing to think about too is that women, if they feel strongly enough about something, that they should be able to march and be able to have a peaceful protest and things like that without being, an interruption and having to use tear gas and things like that to stop them. I think that they should be able to express themselves and kind of express their words. And I think that countries and states should take government that works there should take that into consideration about what they're talking about, and maybe even talk with some of the women that are in the march and kind of take in their thoughts and everything and kind of work with them, because I think there's other ways to go about it than using tear gas and detaining people. There's a lot easier ways and more peaceful ways to go about it. And I think that sometimes the government does not do that, and that's something that me and Lilly here have talked about multiple times. Is kind of, me and Lilly have called out the governments of multiple different countries, and that is something that we will continue to do, because governments need to listen to women, and they need to listen to marches. Not even women, other marches that are happening, government officials need to listen and need to know what we're thinking and kind of take that into consideration, because the government is not always right, and I am completely fine with saying that.
100%. It was so disappointing to hear and read articles about this ban, but I just think that these women in Iran and Istanbul are so strong, and especially to be able to do that march in the face of an official ban, they're really inspiring and somebody we can all look up to. So let's make sure we talk about their message and amplify it and amplify their voices.
Absolutely, and huge thanks to women around the world that do things to make sure that other women will have opportunity, and upcoming women will have opportunity, because it's really important that they, even if like me and Lilly grow up and we do something that makes younger kids get an opportunity that we didn't get to have, I'm just happy that we made a difference and that they get an opportunity, and hopefully can create more opportunities for the generation behind.
Absolutely. For our next topic tonight, we wanted to talk some about multiple governments being criticized for keeping women from peace talks. The evening before Women's Day, leading women's rights campaigners at the United Nations and many other international organizations criticized male-dominated governments for excluding women from these peace talks. This is such an important issue that was brought up, and I'm so glad to see these women chose to speak out about it. Women should not be excluded from these discussions and need to be given an equal voice as any of the other males on these panels. This is just another example of how women's voices are attempted to be silenced on a daily basis, and I'm so glad that some of the panel members and campaigners spoke out about this to raise awareness for this issue.
Yeah, something that I feel very strongly about is how little women representation there is within within like people in power, how more male dominated those roles are, and I feel like if it's a male, like with the abortion laws and everything, a male male dominated males should have a say because everyone deserves a say, but females should be ultimately the ones having a say in it because they have to go through that, and that's something that they can relate to other females. And having male dominated places and females just not getting a say in a law or something, or very little female representation getting a say, and having a more male representation getting a say, really just it isn't as it's just harder for women who can't have that power. It just kind of like, I guess, kind of makes us feel less heard because we're not as heard because of how male dominated they are. And I think it's really important that government and things like that make sure that women are heard and make sure that there is more women representation because it is really important. Because if you're only having male representation or mostly male representation, you're not hearing a woman's side of the story, and it's really important to get those both sides, as both women and men, as both women and male both live in your country or your state or wherever you are. It's important to get those both sides and not just one.
Yeah, totally. And I think that this also ties into a lot of what we were talking about earlier today, which was that it's just really important for everybody to get equal representation, because if you don't, you're only meeting the needs of some of the community.
Absolutely.
For our last segment, for our last topic tonight, to close down our segment, we wanted to talk some about Women's Day coverage in the news compared to women's coverage in the news every other day. When doing research for the Orchid Times news segment, it's almost always super hard to find and come up with topics to discuss because of women's enormous underrepresentation in the news industry and coverage. When researching for today's news segment, though, there were so many articles to use because of Women's Day. It's great to see that women are getting a place in the news this last few weeks, but it also just goes to show that it is possible for women to have equal representation in the news, and this is something that we need to see all year round and not just on one day. So let's hope that these news channels in the future do better and give women a more permanent place and voice in the news.
Yeah, I think that it's great that we have Women's History Day. I think that's a great thing, but it shouldn't just mean that women get that representation for a few weeks and then there's no more representation or there's less representation. There should be an equal amount of representation from male, female, LGBTQ. There should be equal representations of all that and not less of one, because it's not fair to people and women or LGBTQ members. It's not fair for them to have less representation than the male does in the news, because everybody's story matters, not just one person's or multiple people of the same gender. Everybody's gender, no matter what you go by, your story matters. And I think that not having that female representation or that LGBTQ representation makes us, or us as a woman, or people who are part of the LGBTQ community like Lilly, makes them feel underrepresented, and that's not how you should feel. Everybody should feel equally represented, and I feel like only having those few weeks where women are represented should not be only a few week thing. And I'm very strongly in equal, and I think I feel very strongly about that, and I think every single part should have an equal representation, and unfortunately that's just not how it runs, but hopefully we can get to that point.
100%. And I really think that the coverage during Women's History Month and Women's Day really shows that it really is possible for the news industry to give women an equal voice in the news, and this is something that hopefully we just need to see happen more often.
Yeah, it should not just be a few week thing, it should be a year-round thing, and equality is huge, because I don't want to get to the point where men are underrepresented and women are overrepresented than men. I just want there to be an equal line, and unfortunately that's just not there right now.
100%. For our next thing we wanted to do today, we're going to talk some, like we do every week during Women's History Month, we're going to talk some about events that were really impactful in women's history. And for today, we're going to talk some about red lipstick, because most of you know about our campaign, which was for women to wear red lipstick in their profile pictures to show support for everybody. It was such an amazing campaign to do, so I'm really excited to get to talk about this for you guys today. Red lip color gained popularity internationally as women's rights movement spread worldwide. Started during World War II as it was incorporated more into the women's work uniform, and symbolizes American suffrage. And red lipstick means it's a way to show around the world that we stand together as women and we're confident.
Yeah, a huge figures in the past and present, huge women figures like Marilyn Monroe. I know if you've ever seen like old Wonder Woman in the comics and things like that, women wearing red lipstick has been a huge part of a woman's character or on like runway shows. It just comes back to the equality and representation thing that if you can show like if on runway shows or in comics if there's that representation of women, it should not just be like a one event thing or a book thing. Like it should be a real life and multiple event thing. So I think that just it all comes down to representation and equality. And I think just red lipstick being a huge empowerment thing for women is really awesome. And the campaign that we did start was amazing. And if you guys do want to post like a picture of you on Orchid Times of wearing red lipstick with hashtag red lipstick, that'd be great too because we love to share it. We do, if you go a few episodes back in season 1, we do have a montage of like multiple people wearing red lipstick. We had like my dad was wearing it. There was a picture of my dog wearing it, which I had no idea was even a thing. But so if you want to go back and watch that, it is really empowering, and I think that red lipstick should let's just hope the red lipstick journey carries on because I really do enjoy watching it.
Absolutely. Red lipstick is amazing, and I love getting to wear it. And the red lipstick campaign we did was so inspiring and so amazing. Make sure you guys tune into the season 1 finale, which is where we have that montage and everything. And of course, please feel free to share any cool red lipstick facts and pictures in the Orchid Times group. We always love getting to see those and share those. Thank you guys all so much for being here today. We have a few different announcements to make. Make sure to tune into our fundraiser for the International Women's Media Foundation next week. All performers will be going live in the Orchid Times group page, so make sure you follow the group so you don't miss any of these amazing performances. Our fundraiser will be running from 2 p.m. EST until 7:30 EST, and we will be having 11 different performers on, so make sure to keep an eye out on our page for the official lineup posted.
Yeah, and Lilly will be closing out that fundraiser. I'm pretty sure Diane Call is opening it. So make sure you guys catch on to that. It'll be a lot of fun. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the interview. And make sure to go stream Priyana's music if you can.
Absolutely. We have Priyana's links and everything down below. And also, we're going to be doing a discussion on our book for the month, The Nightingale, at the end of April. So it's not too late to start reading. So make sure to click on the link below if you're interested in reading with us. And we'll be giving away a copy of The Nightingale once we hit 1,000 followers on the Orchid Times group. So make sure to invite your friends and follow our group and check out the featured bar to see how to enter into the giveaway because I'm so excited to do that for you guys. It's an amazing book and I've loved reading it.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. So if you can't get your hands on it, please do. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Absolutely. See you guys on the fundraiser. I'll be performing at 7:30. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye.